What's up, everybody? It's Thursday night. That means it's time to talk about movies. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the POVincent podcast here on the River's Edge Network. I am your host, Vincent Didiano. And with me, of course, is my buddy, my pal, my human megaphone of a friend, Eric Williams. Eric, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. I had lasagna today. How can I be doing poorly? Even if it were Monday, he says with a horrible Garfield joke. Speaking of Garfield, some friends of ours who live there got married this weekend.
This is true. I wish we had a picture for them up on the screen here, but I didn't anticipate that.
Oh, Jeez, Vincent, you were a groomsman and you didn't bring a picture. Come on!
I didn't anticipate. I'm sorry.
I ambushed him with this, guys. He had no. We have a blank screen right now because I don't want to reveal what we're talking about yet, even though I posted it in the ad description of tonight's show.
All right. Eric, turn me up a little bit. I want the people to hear me. I want to hear my soothing voice, my soothing lispy voice.
Your soothing voice.
But anyway, yes, another shout out. We did this last week, but we're going to, it's coming up. But another great shout out to our friends, Krish Mohan and Liz Victory. They got married this past weekend at the Union Project here in Pittsburgh. Hell of a ceremony. Tons of people there, and because we're all entertainers in our own way, tons of artists. We had we had musicians, we had comedians, we had poets, and honestly, when you think about it, I said this to Krish, and I hope you're listening right now. But honestly, that was the biggest show that those two had ever put on.
She performed a song for her vows. It was absolutely amazing. Yeah. I feel like I could be wrong, but part of the reason you called me a human microphone at some point. So we were in a big church. What was the name of it?
Yeah, the Union Project on the corner of Stanton and Negley here in Pittsburgh.
A lovely church, large like auditorium area, and things are like going on. The ceremony's done. Pictures are being taken, and everyone's eating, and there's a commotion. And all of a sudden, I hear Eric, Chris needs you. Chris needs you. And I run over, and I'm like, "What's up?" He's like, "Eric, we need someone to tell everyone that if they're not the photographer, to stop taking pictures until the photographer is done without a microphone." And I was just like, "Hey, everybody!" And people just like turned and got quiet. I'm very loud.
Yeah, everybody shut the hell up when you shouted over the crowd. Your ability to project your voice rivals that of Billy Mays. I really want to say that.
If I were a superhero, I would definitely be Black Bolt.
Oh,
absolutely.
It's hard for me to disagree with that voice.
My voice has crippled people and destroyed buildings before. That's just provable fact.
Yes. And don't let that Inhumans TV show, whatever the hell that was, fool everybody. I didn't watch it. I heard it was horrible.
We might briefly talk about that later.
Maybe. But we got a lot of news to get through. So, ladies and gentlemen, we got plenty of news to get through tonight. We're also going to do 2 reviews tonight. We're going to do a TV show review, which we don't do very often, but I want to talk about Daredevil Season 3, and thus we're going to do it. And for our movie review, we're going to talk about First Man. But let's get on with the news. So, as a lot of people outside of the realm of the film industry and movies, there's been some suspicious packages sent to people, and it hit Hollywood.
We're not talking about dick pics.
Yeah, no, we're not talking about that. Robert De Niro. Like I said, as long as you guys have probably heard that in the past day or two, a possible bombs, or at least suspicious packages, we're going to call them, have been sent to Stop. Ladies and gentlemen, Eric Williams, 3-year-old Black Bolt. Anyway, but yeah, so at
13.
Yeah, 13. Okay, we'll go with 13, puberty and packages. Anyway, so this has been first sent to like a lot of politicians. Famously, the first I heard about it was when when this item, can I say item? Box? Possible bomb. Can I say possible bomb without you losing your shit?
Wait, time out. It's another DC film?
Ouch. Ouch. Eric Williams Not letting it go. But anyway, so yeah, first it was announced that these possible bombs were sent to the Obamas and Clintons. They're the first. But I got a list here, and maybe this list has changed since the last time I saw it. But we got everybody from, so once again, the Obamas, the Clintons, former CIA Director John Brennan, former Attorney General Eric Holder, Representative Maxine Waters, George Soros, former Vice President Joe Biden, and recently Robert De Niro, and which is why we're talking about this on the show tonight. We stick to the film. We usually don't get into politics here, but when it's a connected issue. So according to a article on HollywoodReporter.com, the item looks similar to the pipe bombs mailed to top Democrats. New York City police have removed another suspicious package, this time addressed to Robert De Niro and mailed to 375 Greenwich Street, the headquarters of De Niro's Tribeca Enterprises, which represents the Tribeca Film Festival, according to a rep for Tribeca Enterprises and multiple reports. Now, some might be asking, like, okay, I get it. You don't get it. If you can understand, that kind of person, unless you're an FBI analyst, holy crap. But so yeah, this is just really weird because first guy sent all these like top level Democrats, people like are well known, but then it gets to De Niro, and you're like, wait, why De Niro? Well, De Niro's been pretty outspoken on his feelings towards Trump.
Time out. You mean Robert Fuck Trump De Niro has been
exactly.
outspoken about his opinions?
Yeah. I can't remember which award show it was, but he literally said on stage, fuck Trump. Like, he does not hold it back. And then he was on Saturday Night Live a week later, so which a lot of people have, started to, like, come down on Saturday Night Live, calling it Saturday Night Liberal. Even Saturday Night Live made fun of that.
There was a proposal by some self-identified conservative who writes a blog, I believe, that they need a conservative Saturday Night Live. Like that was a legitimate thing that was written. And the thing, I guess, I feel like what's missed there is, like, even if there was a conservative Saturday Night Live, they would still have to make fun of Trump as well. Like
a little bit, yeah. Because, God, I'm trying to imagine that in my mind. Like, it's Conservative Night Live starring Steven Crowder, Owen Benjamin, and whoever else we could find, because I don't know many. and that's not me trying to be a dick. I honestly don't know that many conservative comedians. Those are really the only two I'm aware of.
Dennis Miller reviving his career, or attempting to.
Oh, man. So, yeah, I mean, this is it's horrible. This is some horrible stuff. I mean, once again, we could get deep into political talk here. I really don't want...
Vincent, I think I know what's clearly happened here.
Eric, you've got a theory?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, hit me, baby, hit me.
Obviously, Santa Claus is upset at America for losing its moral fabric, and he got disgruntled, a little drunk on whiskey, and sent out, modern lumps of coal for all the people he didn't like.
So what you're saying... this is actually a hardcore promotional campaign for the sequel to the horror movie Santa's Sleigh. Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is that Santa is now escalating the war on Christmas. He's striking back!
Jesus Christ. You thought the red cups were fucking weird. But anyway, yeah, I mean, sorry,
How many Santa horror movies are there? Like, I think we just wrote a fourth one.
That's I only know two, which I think both have actually had sequels. There's Santa's Sleigh, Silent Night, Deadly Night, and then there's one where Santa is played by former wrestling superstar Goldberg, and the plot is that Santa was actually a demon that was cursed to be nice to kids, but the curse gets lifted and he just goes on a rampage. It did not come to a theater near you, in case you don't remember. It was a fucking TV movie or straight to DVD, one of those deals. But yeah, so anyway, this is fucking horrible. I hope they catch the son of a bitch. We're not going to get much more into it. We got a lot more news to go to, but speaking of horror movies, we're going to move on to our next story. A lot of people know LeBron James has been pushing really hard for another Space Jam movie, and it is on its way. It was Ryan Coogler who got picked to direct, but now LeBron James wants to make a Friday the 13th movie.
What? Yeah, you started talking about LeBron, and I believe I love LeBron. Like, I am legitimately one of the biggest NBA fans in, like, the entire Pittsburgh greater area. Like, Oh, I will stand by this. I can jab. I can John NBA with the best of them, man. I was watching Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks versus the Dallas Mavericks last night, but this is not an NBA podcast.
No.
But you started talking about LeBron, and I was so confused. Like the viewers had to see me go like, what? Because I was like, but Jason Voorhees is what? Like that's not LeBron. I know you don't follow much basketball, Vincent, but they don't wear those sort of masks in basketball.
No, they don't. For those to make that clear, for those of you who don't know, when we're doing the live stream, we've got the green screen up here, and we like to put images on. I don't always tell Eric what news stories I've picked for us to talk about, but I give him the images to throw up on the green screen before we start. So yeah, he's very confused by the fact that I.
Sometimes he surprises me like a pipe bomb in October.
Oh shit! What the fuck?
Nobody died.
I know. You got me. Good work. You've done good. But anyways, on to the news story. According to an article on BloodyDisgusting.com, LeBron James is slashing his way through Hollywood. Having already that's what I'm reading the article. Okay, I didn't write the article. Is that cheesy and campy? Yeah, of course. Slashing his way through. I'm sorry. Whoever wrote this, I got a Brad Miska. I'm sorry, Brad. I hope you're having a lovely October. Anyway.
We'll tag you next time.
Yeah. Having already attached himself to produce a highly anticipated sequel to Space Jam, the active NBA superstar turned producer is heading to Camp Crystal Lake. Bloody Disgusting is exclusively hearing that James and his Spring Hill Entertainment is currently in talks with Vertical Entertainment to produce a reboot of Friday the 13th. So this is kind of interesting. Now, the article does mention, like how the new Halloween movie has been very successful. Last weekend, it did over $70 million. That's really great financially. And it's just so the last time we had a Friday the 13th film was almost 10 years ago. I believe it was around 10 years ago. Where they redid, where they rebooted and they went with a more realistic Jason. They didn't go with the whole undead thing. They made him like human. He was still like fucking, crazy and shit, of course. But
wait, they made him human? I thought he was still undead in the reboot.
Well, I'll say this. The ending makes it seem like he's undead, but for most of the film, he seems like he's a human being. Okay. I mean, as far as you can count someone like him as a human being. But, yeah, no. I mean, at the end, at the end of the movie, they beat him, right? And it's like, oh, he's dead. And then, of course, right before the credits, lunges out, and it's like, oh, fuck, Jason.
Okay, the reboot really bothered me. Now, you're not super into horror movies.
I am not. I don't hate them. It's just not kind of my deal.
Have you watched the original Friday the 13th?
It has been a damn long time, but yes, I have.
Okay, this throws off a lot of people who aren't really into horror or are younger people who didn't grow up with the film or didn't grow up with Scream. Yes. Because famously, one of the questions in Scream to Drew Barrymore before she gets murdered by the killer is, who's the killer in Friday the 13th? And she's like, Jason! And it's not Jason, it is Mrs. Voorhees, yes. And Jason doesn't pop up until the very end when he pops out. And this, they called it Friday the 13th, but it was really Friday the 13th Part 2! Which is fine, but just skip part 2. But they were no, Friday the 13th, and then they just did the whole first movie in the opening credits.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about the first movie. For the first movie, you never see the killer. It's always from a POV. Speaking of point of view perspective. But yeah, so you don't know who the fucking killer is, and it's then in the end, it's Mrs. Voorhees shows up as if oh, are you okay, dear? And then she goes crazy, and that was a really cool twist. It's it's just this seemingly nice old woman who's gone crazy because she wants vengeance for her disfigured son that drowned in a fucking lake.
Fun fact, Mrs. Voorhees has bigger hands than Donald Trump. No, if you go back and you watch it, like you said, it's all POV.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I'm sure in the POV shots it's actually a guy carrying it out.
It's the cameraman. Yeah, who's got... So you see these, these hands that make my hands, look like the president's, just, strangling people and stabbing them. And then at the end, it's oh, hello, I'm Mrs. Voorhees. Yeah. Oh, Jason. Oh, wait, I'm really crazy.
Yeah, and then at the end of the movie, the final girl picks up a machete and cuts their head off. Pretty cool. So we'll say one more thing about this and we'll move on. But in the tweet, LeBron James said, Friday the 13th. Jason Voorhees is one of my favorites. Still don't understand how he caught people running and he just walked, though. So LeBron knows what he's talking about. He ain't just coming in as blind. So hopefully this will be good because I honestly can't remember if the reboot from around 10 years ago was that good. I don't remember hating it or anything. I think its problem I think it did get greenlit for a sequel and it was going to be a 3D because that's when 3D first hit real hard. It was like an August release it was supposed to be, and then they just canceled it.
Honestly, I think the issue might have been that Supernatural continued to do really well.
Well, that was seeing Jared Padalecki from Supernatural was in the film. In fact, him and Jensen Ackles were both trying to get into movies. Jensen Ackles also did a horror movie, My Bloody Valentine, another remake. It just didn't work out, but they're still doing that fucking show, so they're fine.
At that point was season 2 of it, and they're kind of I got this thing. At this point, they're 13, over 10 seasons in.
Yeah, they're 13 or 14 seasons.
Yeah, it has a very excited fan base.
Oh yeah, very dedicated. Yeah.
So
I used to watch
regular jobs, and they can do. If they're okay with being typecast, like Kyle MacLachlan didn't want it to be from Twin Peaks, after this, they can just guest star in all sorts of fantasy TV shows and movies, just roughly the same role for eternity. Until the portrait they probably both have in their attics gets burned and they finally age. I read Oscar Wilde once. That's not true. I read the Spark Notes.
Okay, I did too. I didn't read through that fucking thing. I know. Anyway, so we're gonna move on, ladies and gentlemen. We got to talk about a movie that's been delayed. So, yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry to say, but Wonder Woman 2, aka Wonder Woman 1984, has been pushed back.
Boo.
According to an article on GameSpot.com, 2017's Wonder Woman was a breakout critical success for the often uneven. Uneven. That's a charitable term there.
Oh, wow. That's almost as inappropriate as calling Fox fair and balanced.
We're out of the politics section now, Eric.
This was more about math and accurate terminology.
Yeah. Anyway, its sequel is set decades later in the 1980s, hence the Wonder Woman 1984, and will take the character into the Cold War, but its debut has been delayed. It will no longer hit theaters next year. Warner Bros. Has announced a 7-month delay, pushing the return of Princess Diana back to 2020. Star Gal Gadot, who plays the titular character, first shared news of delay via Twitter, and I'm going to read her her tweet. She's super excited to announce that thanks to the changing landscape, we are able to put Wonder Woman back to its rightful home June 5th, 2020. Be there or be square. Wow, they're really going for that 80s theme. Be there or be square. No one fucking says that anymore. But anyway, so here's the deal. So I'm looking through the article, and basically you're like, well, why would they push it back? That movie is... Because that movie is the reason why the DCEU is on life support right now. If it wasn't for that movie, I don't know. I mean, they're already kind of branching out into multiverse kind of deal. But
isn't that literally the only good movie, that DCEU has produced thus far?
It's the only movie that has not only pleased general audiences, even people who hated, Man of Steel, Batman, Superman, Suicide Squad, people like this one, and critics. And even the critics it did very, very, very well.
And I think even the comic fans, because that's always the issue when you have something that is not a film that has a pre-existing fan base. You want to maintain your nerd fans and the general audience who lacks a familiarity as well, mm-hmm. And that can be a difficult line for a lot of franchises to walk.
Yeah. So the reason why, based on this article, and I've seen this other places too. The reason why they're pushing it back is, as we've talked before on the show, Joaquin Phoenix will now be playing the Joker in an upcoming Joker origin film, which is set to come out in October of 2019. Wonder Woman was set to come out in November shortly afterwards. So the reasoning is that they don't want the two to overlap and one to, okay, Joaquin Phoenix comes out, oh, it's a great movie. Oh, now Wonder Woman's here, fuck him.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, financially it makes a lot of sense. I mean, as a fan, I enjoyed that movie. I thought it was really good. The ending gets a little, but its goods outweigh its bads. But I'm like, I don't want it delayed. I want fucking Wonder Woman, man.
This actually reminds me of the biggest time that I can remember a star using their power to do this. Harrison Ford, back when Air Force One was coming out, Titanic was supposed to come out at the same time.
Ooh.
Yeah, and he was like, no, you guys are gonna wait like 2 months. And
he made Titanic wait?
He made Titanic because A, he had like the star power to do that, and B, he was like, no, like this movie is gonna like, it's going to. He called it. He saw it coming in the water, and he was just like, we need to change course, or shit's gonna go awry.
Yeah, if only he was able to call The Last Jedi. You gotta rework that script. That Rian Johnson's only gonna subvert his own ass if you don't watch it.
I mean, he didn't need to do that. He just had them kill him off in the previous film, so he kind of called it again.
Called it. He did it. I don't want to have that character to be dead since the 80s. Because I knew what was coming 30 years later. He saw it. He had a vision. Plot holes. Inconsistent character motivations. Fucking Casino Planet.
Okay, it's not as bad. We've discussed it. We're not going to go into it.
Yeah.
I feel like The Last Jedi is definitely overhated.
Yeah.
But like,
Like I said, it's a mixed bag. That movie for me, it's a mixed bag.
It's no Spider-Man 3. I'm just saying that.
I feel like there's going to be people who are going to debate us on that. But anyway, we're going to move on. Yeah, so Wonder Woman delayed, unfortunately. I mean, I'm looking forward to the Joker movie. I just wish it didn't have to be delayed 7 months. But anyway, moving on.
Got some sad news, guys.
Yes, from something that was been pushed back to something that's been canceled altogether. Ladies and gentlemen, Netflix's Luke Cage has been canceled. I've been a fan of the Marvel Netflix series. In fact, we're doing a review of one of them tonight, right after this news story. Luke Cage, Season 1, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. The only problems I really had with it was the middle section felt like it was dragging a bit, and the second villain they brought into the show I didn't think was as interesting as the first villain. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was like, I liked Mike Coulter as Luke Cage. I thought he was great. I thought he was perfect. He just looked like Luke Cage right out of the fucking comics. The character had reasons for why he didn't want to be a hero at first. All that stuff. Season 2, I also really enjoyed Season 2. Though I felt there was something about my big problem with Season 2 is like the last 4 episodes felt out of place. Like episode 9 felt like, oh, okay, this is where we're going to end right here. This feels like a good endpoint. And then it kept going, and I'm like, this feels like extra? It did give us a Heroes for Hire episode, basically, which that was fun, just to see Danny Rand not being an annoying, insufferable shit. But anyway, which is weird, because this news came out just 1 week after the cancellation of Iron Fist, which neither of us are surprised about. Season 1, once again, of Iron Fist was bad because Danny Rand is an insufferable shit.
Well, okay. So we talked about something earlier, and I was like, we might get back to that. And you're kind of like, no, Eric, we don't have to. So there were a bunch of problems with Iron Fist, but the biggest problem was the showrunner, who I have just titled He Who Must Not Be Named.
Okay.
No, I don't remember his name, and he's not worth it because he's like the worst thing about the general Marvel movie and TV universe, because not only did he showrun and ruin Iron Fist, he also showran, guess what?
Defenders?
The Inhumans.
Oh, it's the same motherfucker?
It's the same motherfucker. And they had similar problems. Seemed rushed. Plot did not seem fleshed out. The opportunity for special effects was not properly executed. There was just a whole bunch of underachievement. There was sloppiness and the lack of usual precision that Marvel has pretty consistently put out.
All right, well,
that's pretty much that. That was my main. But so Danny Rand was annoying.
Yes, so annoying.
I don't blame the actors.
No, Finn Jones. I got nothing against Finn Jones. I don't blame him. I blame that on just bad script writing and direction. That's what I blame. I don't. It's the same thing with like Kelly Marie Tran. I don't like Rose Tico as a character. I got nothing against Kelly Marie Tran. She performance wise, she was fine. It's just like.
So that was actually the thing that I thought about season 1 of Iron Fist. I actually thought it should have focused on her.
Yeah.
Oh wait, sorry. Rose. That's.
Oh no, I was talking about from Rose Tico from Star Wars. You're talking about Colleen Wing.
Yes.
That was a funny thing. Colleen Wing. Everybody agreed her character was far more interesting, likable, and badass than Danny.
Absolutely.
And in season 2 of Iron Fist, that just came out like last month. The show literally acknowledges that she is a better character. Because spoiler, do you mind if I go into spoilers?
Yeah, go.
Because it's okay. Season 2 of Iron Fist, Danny's old friend Davos comes into things to get revenge on Danny. He performs a ritual to steal the Iron Fist from Danny. So now this guy has the Iron Fist, but Davos is like really black and white and cold-hearted. He just boom. If he thinks you should die, he's going to kill you. And then Danny realizes that, you know what? I haven't really figured out what my purpose in life is. Colleen, you're way cooler than me. He doesn't say it like that, but he basically says that. Once we figure out how to do the ritual again, you should take the Iron Fist. And the season ends with Colleen Wing taking the power of the Iron Fist from Davos. And yeah, I like that. I like her having the fucking Iron Fist. And it's like the show ends with her like, because she traditionally uses a katana in the show. And she holds her katana and she's able to channel the Iron Fist energy into the katana. So she's got like a semi-laser sword kind of deal.
That's really cool.
And then the show goes fucking stupid.
Oh, no!
So the show ends with like Danny going on a trip across the world to find some information on the history of the Iron Fist, and his semi brother Ward Meacham comes with him, and the show ends with them being somewhere in like I think it's Japan, and they're like talking to this guy who has information. He won't give them information, and the guy pulls out a gun, points it at Danny. And then Danny, like in a cowboy long, like duster jacket, pulls out 2 pistols, charges them with the Iron Fist, and then shoots the bad guy's bullet out of the way. Hold the fuck up! How does Danny still have the fucking Iron Fist? You just established that it left him, went to Davos, and then went to Colleen. And why is Danny, what the fuck? You just fucked up your own thing. So he's still the Iron Fist? Is he the Iron Fist? Is Colleen the Iron Fist? Does that mean Davos still has the Iron Fist? How's it fucking working? You ended it on a fucking glowing katana. That's how you end the fucking show. Not fucking confusing the shit out.
Time out. You're telling me season 2 of Iron Fist pulled a bulletproof monk?
A little bit.
If you didn't see that movie from like 2003, spoiler, 15 years later, Chow Yun-fat, Sean William Scott, a.k.a. Stifler, and an actress whose name I cannot remember because I'm a sexist pig. No, so the whole thing is like, it's one of those movies where it's like, oh, there's a prophecy and it's destined to Chow Yun-fat, and the whole thing you're like, it's gonna be Stifler, because he's not the dude that fucked a pie. He was just really perverted in all the movies, so he's gonna get it. And then at the end, it turns out it's him and the love interest whose name I again can't remember because I'm a sexist piece of shit.
Mina Suvari? Was it Mina Suvari?
No, it's not Mina Suvari. That was not the giant forehead movie.
Okay. Anyway, now, so there's apparently a couple reasons why Luke Cage got canceled. Right off the bat, it has nothing to do with viewership. Viewership, it was doing fine. It had enough viewership to get another season. But according to an article on comicbook.com, one has to do with creative differences, though it's not clear if it was between showrunner, I'm going to mess this name up, Cheo Hidari Coker and Marvel TV, or between Netflix and Marvel. Another reason is that the 2 entities could not agree on terms of a 3rd season. Even Marvel wanted to do something with Luke Cage, Netflix wanted to do something else, and they couldn't agree on it, so they just decided to cancel. So basically, it had nothing to do with the quality of the show, it had to do with the people in charge of it just couldn't get in the fuck along. Okay, and that pisses me off, because I want to see this character again. Iron Fist, I get that. Luke Cage, not perfect seasons, but decent seasons with good characters. I mean, like I said, the last season ended a little weird for me, but whatever. I still want to see a 3rd season because I like Luke Cage. I like the character. So, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, it had nothing to do with the quality of the show. It had to do with the higher-ups being just...
So, I don't know the contract situation here, but here's the thing. So, I'm disappointed. I'm also just disappointed that, more people in general didn't start saying "Sweet Christmas" and using coffee as a pickup line. Like that was amazing parts. But they haven't yet canceled the Defenders, right? That's still
There's no plans to make another Defenders.
So
it's basically canceled.
Oh well, but we're getting a season 3 of J. Jones, right?
Jessica Jones, season 3, and season 2 of Punisher, which I think both have finished. Punisher's season 2 is finished filming, and I think Jessica Jones is either almost done or just about to be done. I think they started filming anyway. So speaking of Marvel Netflix, Luke Cage, we're gonna miss you, buddy. Hopefully that character will pop up in the other shows that are still around.
Jessica Jones season 3, come on.
Yeah. It's not going to happen. It's too soon. It's too soon. We're not going to see him again until Daredevil season 4 or Jessica Jones season 4 or Punisher season 3, unfortunately. But anyway, let's move on to our TV review, which we usually don't do. Ladies and gentlemen, time for our TV review of Daredevil season 3, the Netflix Marvel show that started it all. Season 1 of Daredevil was all the other season was Jessica Jones as Luke Cage. Is my favorite season of the Marvel Netflix shows. I love it. I thought it was so fucking fantastic. But with season 3, I'm gonna be honest. It rivals it, or maybe even better. So let's get into it. So after the events of the Defenders, Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil, barely survives the explosion at the end of Defenders.
Wait, time out. Are you telling me that a comic book hero in a visual media survives an unsurvivable event?
That is what I'm saying. But anyway, yeah. So
that's one of my favorite tropes. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It happens all the time. How many times? Even the bad guys. How many times the fucking Joker should be dead? When we're talking about the Joker, I've only seen him being on a plane that exploded in a cartoon. But anyway, so. The plot picks up where Matt Murdock has survived, but his body is broken, and more importantly, his spirit is broken. He no longer wants to be Daredevil after losing Elektra for a second time, and he just and after all the pain and suffering he's put his friends through, but eventually he tries to continue becoming Daredevil, except he no longer wants to wear the red suit that he received at the end of season 1, and he's gone back to more of the black suit that we saw throughout most of season 1. So he's going back to the old look. When this is coming, we also catch up with what's going on with the other characters, such as Karen and Foggy. And unfortunately, it appears that Wilson Fisk, aka the Kingpin, is coming back as he's making some deals with the FBI. So yeah, this season is. I heard ahead of time that it was good, like early rumors and all that, and we're like pre-screenings. And also, yeah, it's really good. So let's start things off. Once again, Charlie Cox, who plays Daredevil, he really puts in a great performance. I really believe that he's broken. A big part of the character is that he's religious. He's Catholic, right? And his faith is taking a hit, right? The way they present the character is not that he's not like an atheist now or something. It's not that he stopped believing in God. It's just he just views God in a different light after the events of the past few years. He no longer basically he basically puts it, it's like they have him and the Lord have a new understanding with each other. Like he doesn't just like trust in God's plans and all that stuff. And yeah, you really see him, but he's come to terms with who he is. He is Daredevil. But that's part of it. The reason why he's also let go of the red suit is that he doesn't want to be Matt Murdock anymore, because Matt Murdock just hurts his friends. The people that are close to him, they just get hurt. So now for part of the season, he just considers himself Daredevil. And we're also catching up with, like I said, the other characters. Karen, she's still working for the Daily Bulletin. As we saw her continue to work as an investigative reporter for that news organization, and she's having trouble letting go, because as far as they know, that Matt is dead. He died. A fucking building fell on him, right? He's having to let it go. Foggy, he's just trying to continue his career. And that's what, like, Karen just doesn't want to let go of it, and she wants to keep searching for, like, answers, and like, she's paying the rent on Matt's apartment, like, she believes he's going to pop up any day. And Foggy just doesn't want to, like, talk about it. He just wants to move on with his life. And his life is pretty good, right? He's a top lawyer at a big law firm. He's got a beautiful girlfriend. They make plenty of money. They got a great apartment together, all that good stuff. But then he starts to feel guilty that he's got such a great life and his best friend, despite the differences they had in the past 2 seasons, that his friend is dead, right? So everyone's dealing with stuff. And then you bring in the best villain in the Marvel Netflix series of all the series. The best villain, in my opinion.
Time out. What?
I know for some people it's Kilgrave. Kilgrave is my second, but for me, number one is Wilson Fisk, a.k.a. the Kingpin.
Okay. I thought they introduced a new one because I was like, Wilson Fisk is fantastic.
Yeah, he's back. Wilson Fisk thing is like he's trying to get out of jail, and he misses his wife that we met in season 1 of Daredevil. We haven't seen since. She's out hiding somewhere in Europe, so the law enforcement cannot get her here. And Wilson Fisk decides to make a deal with the FBI that he will give up locations and names of certain criminals and their organizations in New York in return that he gets to bring his wife back and she's not prosecuted or anything, right? So he goes with that. And at first it seems, okay, he's just getting away. But Daredevil, Karen, and Foggy, they don't believe that shit for a minute. They believe he's got to be up to something. It's got to be more than that. And I'm not going to go into what, but just like season 1 of Daredevil, Kingpin's plan has so many levels, twists, turns, and I love it. Every time you think you have an idea what the fuck's going on, boom, no, Kingpin throws another fucking curveball in your face, and I loved every minute of it. It was great. It's just like there's so much struggle, and like Bat, he's fighting as hard as he can, trying to figure out what's going on, and he's getting his ass kicked just as hard as in season 1 because, remember, the red suit was body armor. But now he's just back to simple what was he able to find in the donation bin at the church.
He was playing football, now he's playing rugby again.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, and he's just getting messed up. And Karen and Foggy, they're just trying to figure things out. And at the same time, they're terrified for their lives because they know Fisk is going to come get them at some point. Foggy's trying to do this via the law. He's a lawyer. He believes in law. He doesn't want to give up on it. He's trying to figure out things that way. What can we do legally to put Fisk back in? Because for most of the season, they basically let him out of jail, and he's got a private room at this fancy hotel. They cleared out the penthouse. It's very bare, and you're just gonna sit in this chair. Here's your shitty bed. You're gonna sit here. If you want some food, we got a burger from McDonald's. Here you go. It's not fine dining like you used to. And just Vincent D'Onofrio as the Kingpin. Amazing. Fantastic. David Tennant, who played Kilgrave and Jessica Jones. Other fantastic performance. Fucking awesome, right? But he's one of my top 5 live-action Marvel villains from the current MCU, and I include the movies. The movies have produced some great villains. I mean, people talk about Loki, people talk about Killmonger, people talk about Vulture, so many great villains from a lot of great villains from the movies, but Kingpin is right up there.
I mean, a large part of the reason the first season is so good is because it's basically a solid 50% of it is just a Macbeth story with Kingpin.
Yeah.
Which is one of the best. I don't think any other Marvel product has really done a villain that way. And then it starts out and he's on top. He is just fulfilling his aspirations. Yeah. And as much as Daredevil pops up and fucks shit up, it's really Fisk that fucks himself up, in that season, falling for his wife and pulling kind of a German invasion of Russia when they were allies.
Yeah, it was so well done. I'm just happy, it's all came together, and we even got some new side characters. We have a new Catholic that Daredevil has to deal with. Of course, he has his priest, Father Lantham, but we're bringing a new character. Sister Maggie? Yeah, Sister Maggie, she comes in, she's a second, she gives Daredevil some tough love, Catholic style, right? She, because Matt's all mopey and shit, the God and my friends, and she's get up off your ass, what are you doing, And then we also bring in FBI agent Nadeem, who's the FBI agent that spoke to Kingpin, and Kingpin said, I want to make a deal with you guys. And he's caught up in this stuff because his family ran into some medical issues recently where he had to pay a lot of money to help a family member who had cancer, but now he's running low on money. And he's just a low-level FBI agent almost, so he's not making a lot of money. He needs a promotion. So this Kingpin thing is his ticket to get a promotion so he can provide for his family better. But it's Kingpin. Kingpin has a plan, and he's so caught up in just trying to, get this case done that he doesn't see that Kingpin's, got a strategy going. And at first that character started off okay, this character's going to be important. And then midway through the season, I'm what are we doing with this character? But then during the second half of the season, things picked up with this character, and I was oh, okay, this is cool. This character is going to be remembered. He's really cool. People are going to like him. But yeah, no. Of course, the fight choreography is great. Watching Daredevil fight in his kind of mixed martial arts style because he's got like a little boxing, a little ninjutsu in there. I love his fighting style. It's really great. Plenty of great fight scenes. And no, I can't forget. I got to mention this real quick because we got to move on to our movie review soon. But they're bringing in another villain, a classic Daredevil villain, ladies and gentlemen, Bullseye. Shows the fuck up. Yeah. And now this has also been, so Bullseye shows up, and this character, he's really cool. He's better than the Colin Farrell one from the movie. Okay, where he's like, remember that scene where it's like he looked at Daredevil, he's like, Bullseye, right? He points to the fucking bull. Yeah, we know you're Bullseye.
That movie.
Yeah. It doesn't feel bad for Colin Farrell because he's like a good actor. Like, what were they thinking? Like, it's just, I can't take this guy serious. But this character is great. He's like this psychopath that's trying to live a normal life, right? Yeah, he's a he's a psychopath, so he really can't like empathy and all that stuff. That's hard for him. But he had therapists that tried to teach him. Okay, this is what you do when you're trying. Like, if somebody's feeling sad, this is what you should say to them to make it seem like you care. And he's like really torn. Like he's like very alone. He realizes that he knows what he is. He's not like unaware of it, right? But he feels really alone, and he just wants to find somebody that can show him how to be a good person, or I should say, act like a good person, so he's not fucking alone and he can do well in the world. But he is like, his psychopathic tendencies are emerging, and Kingpin finds out about him, and he's like, how can I use this guy? Like all the stuff. And Kingpin, the master manipulator that he is, sooner or later, like he's fucking with Bullseye, right? All all this stuff. And it's a great character. The actor who, I forget his name, but
you sexist pig.
Oh, is it? Yeah, they gender swap Bullseye for this. No. Really great, really cool villain, because like that's the dynamic between like the interesting thing between Daredevil and Bullseye. Bullseye at long range is deadly. Daredevil's more deadly at close range, and we see that in the fights with him when they're like right next to each other. Daredevil is landing far more many blows on Bullseye than he is, because just Daredevil's martial arts background is giving that advantage. Bullseye, once he gets some distance, he can turn anything into a weapon. Pencil, the tape dispenser. He takes he rips things off like church pews and like anything, because he has that weird, insane accuracy where he can turn anything basically into a throwing knife or a dart. It's really cool. It can get a little crazy, right? But it's like superheroes, and they pull it back just enough. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I highly recommend Daredevil Season 3. If you enjoyed the first 2 seasons, you're going to enjoy this. Honestly, they're back, baby. It's awesome. Fucking loved it. But anyway, it's time to move on to our movie review. Yeah. So, oh man. Ladies and gentlemen, sorry, no, I'm just coming down. I wasn't all made.
Relax,
so we originally going to see the movie Hunter Killer, the submarine movie with Gerard Butler, but that movie but the only showing tonight started a little too late for us. Eric's got work the next day. And,
I appreciate you, buddy.
Yeah, no, I wasn't going to do this. The man works hard. All right, we all have bills got to get paid, ladies and gentlemen. But if I'm being honest, I really wasn't looking forward to that movie anyway, so I'm not disappointed. Like, I'm sorry. I hope Gerard Butler's career picks up, because it's kind of in right now.
Okay, right before we get, I looked at the movies for today because I wasn't sure what we were gonna say. Like, I messaged you this morning, and like I looked it up, and like all the big movies coming out this week were like 2.5 hours. I feel like we ended up seeing a movie that was like 2.5 hours, but did not feel like it. To foreshadow a little bit, and also started at like 6:25, so we're able to get on here before like 1 a.m. Which is pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Indeed, yeah. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this week we're reviewing First Man. This movie stars Ryan Gosling, Claire Foy, Jason Clarke, Kyle Chandler, Corey Stoll. It's got a big cast. That's what I'm trying to say here. A lot of notable actors in this movie. It's directed by Damien Chazelle, which I'm not familiar with. What else has he done? He's done. The guy who did. Oh wait, no, he did. He wrote. Wait, what was he directing wise? He directed a Whiplash and La La Land. Okay,
dude.
I should probably fucking know who this guy is at this point. Embarrassment. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, so this movie is about where Ryan Gosling plays Neil Armstrong, the first man on the moon. And from the trailer, you could think it's just about like the year or two leading up, or it's just about the mission. This movie is about the 7 to 8 year journey Neil Armstrong went to get to the moon. Yeah, because it goes through the whole program from him being first into it to all the testing they did, all the various like on Earth tests they did to in tests in space. This incredible journey, and it was very informative. There's a lot of stuff that
very detailed biopic.
Yes, very. Yeah. It was like there's a lot of stuff that I learned I didn't really know at the time. Interesting stuff. But let's talk about the characters. So, like I said, Ryan Gosling plays Neil Armstrong.
Absolutely beautiful. He is a beautiful man, and according to Emma Stone, he's just a wonderful human being.
Exactly. We talked about him a few weeks back about Emma Stone. She did an interview. Talk about Ryan Gosling. He's just one of those like quality dudes in Hollywood. So, which means if he ever gets Me Too'd, we're all fucked.
Don't you talk about that, Vincent. Don't you jinx it. No. I'm gonna make a prediction now. I've already made one such prediction on the show, but I'm gonna say right now that Ryan Gosling gets an Oscar nod for this.
Ooh, yeah. Here's the weird thing about this movie. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has the critic score is pretty well, from what I remember. Let me look this up. Rotten Tomatoes. But the audience score, not as much. Let me look this up here. And here we go. So, yeah. It's currently sitting pretty at 89%. So, this movie is certified fresh. The audience score, 62%. So, I heard about this ahead of time before I saw this movie. This movie actually came out last week. And we decided to see Halloween instead.
Good decision. No, I mean this was solid, but like
no, I got you. Yeah. No, Halloween wasn't a bad movie. I recommended it. Yeah.
You're catching it on the opening, that had the buzz going.
Yeah.
Then we got to grab this week, like yeah.
I think I get why general audiences may not enjoy this movie because what I heard ahead of time was that the movie is boring, and I kind of get that. This movie tries to keep things very clear and cut. It's not the typical, it's not Apollo 13, like the way Apollo 13 was done. If you're expecting Apollo 13, that's not what you're going to get. You're going to a movie that seems to try to keep things as accurate as possible.
This movie was really difficult for a reason in particular. I loved it. I had to be probably a little more obnoxious than usual to audience members because
there was an old man that wanted to crack you in the face.
I believe it. The thing that struck me in this movie, I was like, did Neil Armstrong have Asperger's? No, because the thing is, and I remember I was actually listening to NPR because I'm a giant nerd like that who likes getting some degree of education while I'm working on a job that will let me listen to the radio. And they interviewed the director, and he was talking about the difficulty with this was just that, Neil Armstrong is such a square for lack of a term. He is a by the book sort of and that gets reiterated again to the point where I was like, oh, this is like Rain Man Goes to Space.
I hear what you're saying. I would have described the character as emotionally cut off for a lot of movies. There's a few moments where he lines up and smiles, but a lot of that has to do with maybe that, and minor spoiler for the film, is that we find out that at the beginning of the film that before any of this got started, that Neil Armstrong and his wife, Janet, had a little girl. And unfortunately, she had cancer and she died very young. Based on the movie, it seemed like 2 or 3 years old. And this affects Neil throughout the whole movie. You can tell a lot of stuff, reason for even getting in the space program probably has a lot to do with her. And it really is a challenge, because, this movie gets very real. Over the course of the 7 to 8 year journey, a lot of people's lives changed for the better, and some people's lives changed for worse because there were people who died along the way. And I'm not going to say which characters, but there are a lot of people who died to make this space program happen, to make Apollo 11 happen. And you see what happens to the wives, because all the astronauts, all the people involved in the program were men. Except for some of the mathematicians that we learned about at another movie, from the other year, Hidden Figures. But yeah, and you see Claire Foy as the wife, and some of the other wives in the movie portray the stress they went to, because even before these guys are going to the moon, the very tests they're doing could kill them, and some of the guys don't make it.
These are pilots. That's like at this day and age, it's relative. But like when you're doing military stuff, like I mean, stuff like there's always that like it's. From what I understand, there's a slight similarity to like having a relationship with a police officer, because you're always like something could happen.
Yeah.
Like,
and a lot of this is translated through. There's a lot of close-up shots in this film, so they're making a lot of things very personal. They want the audience right up there to see all the little expressions in everyone's face. That really close, intimate kind of camera shots. Maybe a little too much, but you're there with them. And that leads to some of the great goddamn visuals in this film. The special effects in this movie are solid. Nothing felt ingenuine. Everything felt real and solid. And there was never a moment I was like taken out.
I'm pretty sure we walked on the moon.
Yeah. It felt real because there's a lot of first-person perspectives in this, and just like moments where we're inside the capsule, like even like some of the test vehicles with Neil or some of the other astronauts, and like we feel and they reenact. There's this thing where apparently Neil Armstrong went up in one of these like test capsules where they were testing whether or not they could have the two parts of the ship connect, because the way the moon worked, and they sent a rocket with two ships in it that connected, and when they got to the moon, one separated and then went down, and the one capsule stayed in orbit around the moon. So they were testing this, and stuff goes down, and we feel like we're right there in the middle with Neil Armstrong, and things are crazy, intense, and you're like, holy crap! And it's just, even though Neil Armstrong is gonna make it to the moon, it's just like it was so shot.
A great job building suspense in a biopic.
Yeah, I wanted to keep going, like he's gonna make it, but they're shooting this like. Are they gonna pull fucking Glorious Bastards and kill Hitler? You know what I'm saying? Are they gonna pull some shit? No, the movie was, just the visuals. And there's this one moment was like in space when they were doing like, I think midway through the film, where I think there was a little bit of a tribute to 2001: Space Odyssey, because they had some semi-operatic music playing as the two capsules are kind of turning in space and coming together. A little 2001: Space Odyssey tribute there. The visuals, like you really feel like whenever something's going down in a plane, in a rocket, in whatever the capsule, you're right there with them. And it just really adds to the experience so much. And like I said, I kind of get why audiences maybe thought the movie was a little bored, because, like I said, Neil Armstrong, the character, played Ryan Gosling, great actor. I always praise him for his performance in Blade Runner 2049. I fucking love that film. Like I said, he's a little emotionally cut off, so I think that can kind of like stale things for audiences. But you just see he's a complicated guy. He just can't open up. Like that's a problem with him. He doesn't really want to talk about what's bugging him in his soul.
So I feel like there were two or three scenes that kind of like sum things up. At one point, tragedy strikes. It strikes a couple times. In fact, there was one famous strategy that I laughed inappropriately, because it was 19 years and a day prior to the Challenger explosion. And I was just like, oh, yeah, that's right. There's this other awful thing that happened the day before I was born, as opposed to the Challenger explosion, which happened on my first birthday, making it about me, because I'm an egomaniac. But anyways, like this tragedy happens, and one of the other people in the program comes to talk to Neil, and he's just like, if I wanted to talk to someone right now, do you think I would have avoided everyone like I did? And then later in the movie, before he goes to space, his mild spoiler here, but again, we know that he's gonna go to space. His wife makes him talk to his two sons before he goes to space, and he talks to them just like like he's at a press conference.
Like at a press conference, or he's talking to like the flight director about, he's very like...
And to be clear, he's no BS at the press conference. Like someone at one point is like, is there anything you'd like to take with you to space, Neil? He's like, I'd like to take more fuel.
Yeah.
like this is... But what gets established really well is that basically Neil Armstrong is like the Michael Jordan of space.
Yeah. Yeah, so
he is all about that. He is about the job, and he's very good at what he does, which is the reason that we were able to make it to the moon.
Yeah. And the only faults I will say is that the movie does move pretty quick, because there's so many events this movie wants to cover. And in some ways it is, but I think the one where it kind of hurts it a bit is where, like, because at the beginning we see like the little girl, the daughter, die of cancer, and I think we move past that too quickly, where maybe a little bit more time should have been spent on that to really develop that emotional connection for us with Neil Armstrong, to really feel bad for him when the daughter passes. I think that could have, like, a little bit more time. I understand this movie's got a lot going on. It's already over 2 hours, but that bugged me a little bit. So
this is the first time I can remember a movie using pregnancy or lack thereof to show the passage of time.
Yeah. Because like I said, this movie is like 7-8 years, and towards the end of the movie, like, Ryan Gosling finally has a new haircut. I don't know if you noticed that, but his haircut was different.
There's that. Well, early on, like you said, his daughter dies, and like there's been talk about they don't want to move or try out their opportunities because they want it to end that she dies, and so then he goes in the space program. And they move to Houston, and then like next scene, his wife is like 8 months pregnant, and then like next scene, like she's like flat stomached. Like they don't even show you the they're not like, oh hey, we're showing you the birth of the child. They're like, oh hey, here's Neil Armstrong doing more math.
So all right, so we're getting towards the end here, so let's just say it. Eric, do you recommend First Man?
I would recommend it. Yeah, I was surprisingly satisfied with this film.
I would also recommend it. I'll say this: I recommend it to like real cinema lovers. If you're kind of a general, Joe Schmo that goes every once in a while, I don't know if you'll enjoy this, because once again, I get it why it's getting a low audience score.
If you love space or Ryan Gosling, go see this movie. If you want something that's action paced, or if you want to see like the next Apollo 13, this movie probably isn't for you.
Yeah, it's not. Once again, that's not me dissing. It's just like, this is I see what the intention of this film is. I get it. So but anyway, yeah. So I recommend First Man. If you have time, go check it out. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for all tuning in. Just going over a few things. Once again, shout out to Chris and Liz. I'm glad you guys are married. I had a great time at the wedding. Also, if you guys do enjoy the show, please consider heading over to patreon.com/POVincent and donating to the show. I would really appreciate it. I mean, Eric loved doing this, but once again, bills. But anyway,
you got any shows coming up?
No, I do not, except for in a few weeks we're having once again my monthly podcast, Silver Screen Stand-Ups. This time I'll be joined by the already mentioned Krish Mohan and our fellow comedian friend Derek Minto, who is one of the guys behind the Burning Bridges Comedy Club at Hambones. Will be joining me to watch the movie Cirque du Freak: The Vampire's Assistant, starring John C. Reilly. So please tune in. We had a lot of fun last time. Eric and Funk were there. But yeah, guys, that's everything for tonight. What you got, man?
I like this week. I'd like to give a brief shout out to my lovely girlfriend Sheena Carroll, who was in the incline for, I think, artists to pay attention to. She got a shout out there, and we just went to the gala last night. And then tomorrow night, if you are in the Jeanette area, I am doing a half hour with mostly, I'll be the comedian at a music show at the Keynote Cafe out in Jeanette. That starts at 6:55, and I go on at 8:30. And then this Saturday, I am out with a bunch of wonderful comedians, including Christopher Scriva and Jackknife Taylor at Petrucci Brothers in New Brighton in Beaver County. So if you like laughing and or craft beer and you are in Beaver, come and check it out, please.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all we got for you. Thank you once again for tuning in. We appreciate everyone's viewership. And until next time, take it easy, all right?